Remark. So let me begin with, this episode is so damn good. There's no way, no way that I'm doing it this way. So if I want to review this episode, I'm gonna do it right. Okay, let's see. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I guess I got it. So yeah, welcome into my sacred sanctuary in Ponyville. Yeah, so I'll be reviewing it as my OC form, because this episode is so damn good, I gotta do it like this. Please excuse the very poor quality animation on my OC. This is the first time I'm doing it. Don't know if it'll be the last, but it will happen if Twilight Sparkle and her friends never ever became friends or even met each other. This episode pretty much answers that question, but with a little bit of a twist. The episode begins with Twilight practicing for some kind of, for other unicorns to specialize in their magic and teach them how it is to learn and do their magic while doing a huge speech. And during that speech, she kind of explores their destinies. They become chosen ones to try to form the elements of harmony and protect all of Ponyville. But then, Twilight notices that while looking around the seats that she swore she saw Starlight glimmer. And of course, Spike tells her that's probably her imagination, and maybe it's her, maybe it's not, possibly what could she do? Well, the first thing that she does is pretty much enter Twilight's castle without the door being locked and no guards. Seriously, Twilight? You could not, lock the doors or even hire some guards while you're away? I mean, it's a big freaking castle. No one's gonna try to sneak in. So then, Starlight Glimmer somehow uses a spell from the big wizard, I guess, from the show. I can't remember his name. I don't know, he was mentioned in the Nightmare Night episode, I can't remember. So she uses a spell and literally the changes get a little bit of problems. I mean, really big ones. I mean, we get to so many few kind of futures, and it's not just one future, it's a whole bunch of them. You see, Twilight's still trying to fight Starlight Glimmer while she's looking at the bad futures, and we see over 5 different futures of how small outcomes of the past can affect the future, and it does it in so many ways. The future that, in some futures that Sombra takes over, or Chrysalis takes over, or even just a desertless wasteland, Discord, or even the Flim Flam brothers even take over one time. It's just so insane of how these villains' hatred somehow leads up to these bad futures. Heck, we even see Nightmare Moon. Yeah, Luna doesn't turn back and somehow puts Celestia in the moon. Oh boy, will this lead to the episode where they'll finally go to space? Nope. It's just one of the futures. Though I do have to say, I'm very impressed with different kinds of outcomes. And yes, for those who pretty much are going crazy over the different hairstyles of Rainbow Dash, I mean, they're cool, but I don't really think it's that much. So yeah, continuing on, she tries to stop Starlight Glimmer as best as she can. She completely fails, but then Twilight thinks of one more idea by trying to talk to Starlight Glimmer into trying to stop her from changing the past, and literally shows her one of the bad futures, which people have referenced to be something out of Fallout 4. And so then, while that happened, it seems like Starlight doesn't even care. And at first, we find out that probably she'll be a one-dimensional villain, but then we discover that she kind of has a background story where the reason why she does this is because one of her friends that she used to hang out with used to have a really good connection with each other, and then after he got his Cutie Mark, he was sent away and she was left alone until she was to gain her Cutie Mark. Which, you know, is actually pretty damn sad, and we do feel bad about that. We do feel really bad for her, and yeah, I kind of teared up a little bit knowing what happened. But then we start to discover that she pretty much wants to do this just so everyone can be equal. And yeah, that's pretty much the reason why, that she wants everybody to be equal because of that event. And at the last moment, she was about to rip the spell so Twilight couldn't go back to the past anymore or the future to try to change anything. And yeah, leading up to this point, we kind of get a anticlimactic point where at the last moment, Twilight Sparkle tries to talk to her again and try to explain to her that she can still make friends if she learns how to do the right thing. And eventually, she learns that she could try to change everything of her future and try to do something better. And so, of course, Starlight Glimmer decides to do that and not change the past, and everything has turned back to normal once again. The main six come in, and they pretty much talk to Twilight to see what had happened, and now they decide to let Starlight Glimmer to be their friend, and somehow they do a song number, and yeah, it leads up to a very kind of awkward stare. Like, really, no one was creeped out when all the ponies were staring at us a little bit, you know? No one was creeped out? Okay, fine. So yeah, that pretty much is the whole episode. So yeah, So Twilight tries to teach Starlight Glimmer, instead of just trying to hurt people, they just should be friends. And also try to move on. I know, it kind of sounds really, it kind of, like, the outcome was really fast. What I really do like is all the timelines. I do like their inventive timelines, and from what I understand, I think this is part of, like, some fan service or fan fiction out of this. You know, I haven't been really, you know, reading those or anything, but if anyone thought of these ideas, I mean, it's pretty interesting. But I do have to say that knowing that Zecora was in one of those timelines, I kind of found it a little bit confusing, because we haven't seen Zecora for a long while, and we just recently saw her in What About Discord and in this episode. I mean, like, when you have a background character or any character you kind of a recurring character, you should at least give a few times to recur during seasons, so people just are not in big shock when she just randomly appears. I mean, seriously, what's up with Zecora hate? I mean, do people hate Zecora or something? I don't know, but there has to be a little bit of explanation. Though her development has gotten a little better. And from what I'm hearing, many people thought that Celestia's development was getting huge after her appearance of trying to create an army to stop Sombra in one of the futures. But, to my personal opinion, it's just one scene. It's not really too much of a development. I mean, you can't really talk about a development in just one moment. I mean, so yeah, she knows how to make an army and try to convince them to stop a whole other army. I mean, it's not really a big thing. It's just really not. So yeah, going back into the point where people are talking about the different hairstyles of Rainbow Dash, how she kind of has this futuristic kind of Terminator style, and this one where she somehow does a buzz cut. I don't know, it's just because, I mean, it's interesting. The metal wing is kind of, I think, yeah, it kind of feels like something out of Star Wars or maybe a Terminator reference. I can say that, though I am confused about that future, that Sombra future. I mean, I'm kind of really confused about that Sombra future. I mean, so yeah, he takes over and turns everyone into Terminators, like warriors, Robocops kind of things, and so now they have an army of ponies trying to stop him. I mean, yeah, it's pretty interesting, but haven't we seen these kinds of futures before in films? I mean, at the moment I saw that, I started to think of either Terminator or X-Men Days of Future Past. I mean, it almost feels a little ripped off as well. And the one thing, I do have a huge nitpick in that future, like Pinkie Pie being a soldier. I'm sorry to say, but that's 100% bullshit right there. Like, really, really 100% bullshit. I mean, really. Pinkie Pie is a big soldier. When has the character... I mean, yes, you might argue this is supposed to be a different future timeline, but even for that, when would the character ever put in violence first before anything? I mean, even in episodes like Griffin the Brush-Off, Pinkie Pie doesn't try to think of a plan to try to, you know, stop Gilda or anything. She just pretty much throws a party, and even for that one scene in a Canterlot wedding, she was mostly just using a party cannon. I mean, really, never seen the character act in violence of just trying to stop someone. I never really saw that. 100th episode, yeah, we never saw anything, but really, I don't remember ever the character being so violent being in a violent point that she would become a soldier. It just doesn't seem right. It felt like the equivalent of Kevin James being the President of the United States, like in the Pixel movie. It just seems really unreal. I mean, no matter how great the writing is, which it is here in this two-parter, that one moment it just felt really out of character. Even if it's a different kind of feud, pretty much, even though she never went back home, she still pretty much talks the same and, you know, still working with apples. There's nothing really too different about that. They pretty much still have their destinies. So, yeah, uncalled for. Though, Maud Pie as a soldier, come on, she's a person who doesn't show her personality. Of course she's gonna join the war. And yeah, like I say, I do like some of the futures, though the only future, I mean, it's kind of funny, but it was like 2 seconds. Also, I'm not too impressed with Chrysalis's future. I mean, so certain ponies go to Ponyville while the other ponies are stayed as some kind of village warriors? What? It's really confusing to me. Okay, the negatives I do have are certain parts that have to do with Starlight Glimmer. Even though I really adored her performance in this episode. I mean, at first, she made a fantastic villain. Like, literally, her plans are so unique, and also she's one step ahead of Twilight. That's something so unique of a villain. And I really like her motives at the moment. And that one scene where she did some kind of clap while making one of the most funniest faces I've ever seen in the show. That's literally going on my top 10 on a list that I'm going to be releasing soon. But like I said, that's really, really funny and really impressive. But like I said before, this is like, I just felt that her being good in the end is done well. Like, I have to say, in a way, to my point, it is done well in a way, though I felt it was a little bit too fast. And yeah, there were some things that were right, where she did apologize to the group that she controlled before. She tries to make friends with the main six, and she even tries to make friends with other people. And yeah, there's a musical number, you know, but like I said before, it's, you know, it's kind of fast. I mean, just after one conversation, you kind of wonder how come they couldn't put this more in part 2. It seems like the writers somehow were putting off a really good story, but they forgot to put the point of trying to put a little bit more development on how Starlight Glimmer is going to turn out to be a good person by the end, to be redeemed. But, you know, I bet that they could have, you know, redeemed her a little bit more in part 2, so it would have been more believable. Though, for what we got, I mean, it's alright. I don't think it's that impressive. So, overall opinion on this two-parter, I think it's one of the best two-parters this show has ever done. I mean, literally, I'm not too big a fan on two-parters, but now I'm starting to realize they're kind of doing better right now. This two-parter is definitely way better than Twilight's Kingdom in every way, in my personal opinion. This two-parter is so well done. I felt that the pacing was good for the most part. I felt that the characters were well put in their situations. Starlight Glimmer was an impressive villain until she was redeemed. And I really like the unique ways they try to predict what the future outcomes will be and traveling through time. And putting on another nitpick, I kind of felt a little bit disappointed that there wasn't that many time-traveling movie references. Nothing from Back to the Future, Doctor Who, or even Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Literally, for the moment that they came back, I thought they were going to be saying, "Excellent!" Because, it would have been cool if they said that, but, they had to do what they had to do. And yeah, overall, I think this is one of the best two-parters the show has offered. My overall opinion on Season 5, I can say, yeah, it's a very impressive season, though I did felt that the second half of Season 5 was a little bit hit or miss, but I still find the whole entire season pretty impressive. I cannot wait for Season 6. Though, I don't know if any of you noticed, but from what I'm FiM, or if you want to go to Sherlock, I guess, there's still plenty of shows. I mean, I pretty much have to finish Jessica Jones for one thing. Okay, so yeah. So my OC, Roger Starr, signing out. And also give a big thanks to Black Belt Dragon. So yeah, Black Belt Dragon also signing out. Before I go, I do want to notify people that I won't be doing these vlogs for the show anymore. I'll pretty much put on my opinions on Twitter. I'm not sure if I'll do Season 6 or anything, depends on if I'm going to be able to do it. Alright, so Roger Starr and Black Belt Dragon signing out. And I'll see you next time.